You're watching News 24 Live. The SABC televised its first fight in 4 years this weekend. Is boxing back on terrestrial television? I'm joined in studio by boxing analyst and local ring announcer Devin Currow. He's going to tell us a bit more about the dynamics and politics behind this situation. Devin, thanks for coming in again.
Good afternoon, Nick. How are you?
Good, thanks. Good to see you back here.
Good to see you
Now that
too.
all the Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather malarkey is done and dusted, or is it?
It's done and it's dusted, and I hope it doesn't happen again. I've had enough of it.
Yeah,
no,
I think.
It was a good spectacle for what it was. Maybe not the kind of fight that everyone was hoping to see. If you are new to the sport and you got Mike Tyson in your head still, Mayweather's not that kind of guy. He never was. But what he did was dominate Pacquiao over 12 rounds, absolutely no doubt, and Pacquiao had to come up with a shoulder excuse afterwards. Sad to see, but that's the way it was. But everyone earned a hell of a lot of money, so they shouldn't be complaining too much.
Exactly. Right, well, moving on and bringing things back home. Yes, first fight in 4 years this weekend. You seem to know quite a bit about the background behind why it went off terrestrial television and what has brought it back, and is it here to stay? Tell us a bit more.
Is it here to stay? I hope so. The fighters need it. You know, boxing in this country has taken a beating on its own accord, because if these guys, and they're kids, a lot of them are kids, if they're under the age of 30, they're kids. This is the only way that they can put money into their pockets. It's the only way they could put food on the table for their families, and that's to fight. And to fight, not only just off TV, but on TV is the most important thing for any young athlete who wants to progress in the sport. They
From a
need
sponsorship perspective.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
They need the exposure, and also for themselves as well, to not freak out if they ever fight on TV for the first time and their first fight on TV is in America or something like that. But that generally doesn't work like that. Exposure, yes. Sponsorship, yes. Which is why it is so important for boxing to have returned to terrestrial access television, because not everybody has money to be able to afford to pay a TV subscription. So for people who watch SABC, boxing was back on Friday. It happened at the Birchwood Hotel in Johannesburg. In its usual Friday night time slot, which for years and years has been a regular staple on the SABC channel. Channel 2, SABC 2, it used to be called Blow by Blow. I think they've changed the name to TKO. But either way, 9:30 Friday night boxing. Everybody who is a boxing fan in this country knows to expect that to happen every Friday without fail. So it happened this last Friday. Hopefully it's going to be a permanent fixture. But to get it there, it took 4 years of it being dragged, the sport being dragged through the courts by miscalculations on the BSA's part as to what they deem to be in charge of the sport, how they run the sport, and promoters who basically stood up and said, no, we're not going to accept what the BSA was offering them. The reason that boxing has been off television is that basically in 2008, 2011, a guy called Moffat Kiti was elected as the CEO of Boxing South Africa. His first move as CEO was to take the boxing television rights away from the promoters and want to control it by the BSA themselves, which is wrong. On every account, it's wrong, because let's just say the BSA haven't really had a proven track record of trustworthiness in the last couple of years. And you know, this happened, and what happened was that Branko Milenkovic, who is one of the most prominent and biggest promoters in the country, he stood up and said, no, this is not going to work like this. BSA cannot be in charge of dishing out the TV dates as well as the TV revenue to promoters that they deem fit enough to show an event. And he's right. I can't fault him on that. I think it's not up to BSA, who is only a regulator of the sport. They're not the controllers of the sport. It's not up to them to be able to give TV dates and money. It's completely wrong. So he went to court over this with BSA, with SABC, and basically because it's been in a state of a court case, there hasn't been any boxing on television for 4 years. All of the fans have been distraught. Guys I speak to on a daily basis always asking, when have you heard it's coming back to television? Everyone's been excited. And now finally it's happened. But also the way that it's happened recently in terms of Fikile Mbalula, who has just gone, and I think he's kind of in contempt of a court order here. He's just gone and thrust it back onto television, which helps him buy votes for people who weren't liking him recently. But hey, he's done it, hats off to him. He's put the sport back in the spotlight, and that's the most important thing. But I think there's still going to be a bit of uneasy waters that are going to be coming because there's still a court case that's hanging over the sport.